Okay, so recapping, I've made a couple blog posts on this XOrduino XO Stick stuff, which contain lots of information, except one little bit, which is why we are actually doing this in the first place. Well, one of the reasons why. One of the reasons is that Arduino is just really popular, and anything we can do to help it is so much better. But so the XO4, I think we're calling it now, which is the touchscreen version of the XO, has optical sensing or infrared touchscreen. So around the outside, I need to hold it a little higher. Around the outside of the screen is a circuit board which contains LEDs and receivers and whatnot to do all the touchscreen stuff. In manufacturing, this left us with this big gap in the center of this printed circuit board. This printed circuit board is basically the perimeter of the screen, and it's cut out in the center. So we had all this unused printed circuit board area in the center, and the question was, can we use that to do anything useful for education rather than just throwing it away?
Sure.
Some of it is actually being used for there's a small circuit board that sits underneath the touchpad, so kind of the top corner of it is being used for that, and the bottom half is being used for the I can't hold it up and hold these for the XO and XOrduino, which kind of go in the fit in the bottom there.
Can you get the glare off that? I can't quite see. Okay.
Yeah. So if let's just lean this down, maybe.
Yeah.
Better that way.
And you're kind of moving around.
Yeah. So they fit together this way, I think. In the in the cutout that's from the.
That's nice.
Yeah. So that kind of explains the exact size they are, and when you get and the thinness of them too. I think, and when you they're really thin because they're trying really hard not to make this any further out from the screen than it is.
And then you have, it took me a while, so that's a key point that wasn't mentioned, as you said, which I had heard rumored about, but also that somewhere in there, I think you know what those tabs are to kind of bulk up the thickness.
Yeah, so if you stick it in the, I guess this is a nice example where that thing will focus. It's having trouble focusing that close, but I've done it on this one. You can sort of see that I've tapped it up, and that turns out to be just the right size to fit in the.
Yep. That was another key point, because I sort of got your shipment and I stuck it in and it didn't stick, and so that seems apparent.
Yeah. So if in another world, if we weren't trying to fit it onto this unused printed circuit board area, I might well have made the printed circuit board thick enough so you wouldn't need to do that. But we have this constraint. So it's been kind of rumored and implicit before now because we were uncertain as to whether or not Quanta was actually going to let us do this. Whether there'd be other unforeseen problems, whether we'd need to use that printed circuit board space for something else. But I don't think I have one. Somewhere in my here's the latest version of XO4s came, and each laptop had this nice little plastic bag in with the two circuit boards inside. So that's basically everyone who gets an XO4 is going to get these two circuit boards. They might be useless to them, but if we can give them good educational material to actually make these things useful, so much the better. That's the goal. So it looks like that's actually happening. All the XO4s are going to be shipping with these, and so our challenge in the next couple months is to make them useful and not so much trash that has to get thrown away.
And that's so now piecing it together. That's a fabulous story. And key is it's populated with the parts, right? At the factory.
No, so it's not.
Okay.
So that's the thing is, the printed circuit board area is free, but the parts aren't free. So we're not forcing anyone to buy an XOrduino with their XO yet.
Okay.
And so that's why there's the two designs. The XO Stick is supposed to be, $1 per kid, easily solderable by the kid themselves. And that's probably the lowest entry point. I think that you could convince any teacher who's sort of interested in electronics that this might be a fun project to do with slightly older kids. The Arduino is a somewhat more expensive design just because of some of the choices the Arduino people made, but the benefit is you can. Oh, I actually have that aimed right in the first place. So you can actually stick that whole thing together. This fits. There's a sort of commercial gearbox from a Japanese company, which if you assemble it, the mounting holes on the Arduino, it turns out, I didn't even have to change that, let it sort of snap right on top of that. So the latest version of the XOrduino has a motor driver, and basically all you need to turn that thing into a very simple turtle robot.
So with what you sent me, and with the great parts breakout, and if I order that base, are all the pieces in place? Maybe with a little help from you to make one.
So I think you actually got the alpha version,
yeah,
which is this guy, which doesn't have the motor driver on it.
Okay.
So I can send you the board for the the beta version, which came with the latest shipment of XO-4 prototypes, which has the motor driver on it.
Oh, great! And do all most of the same parts work since I haven't assembled it, or?
Yeah. So here's the deal. The XO Stick is pretty much exactly. So I made changes to the XO Stick too, but those are all pretty much parts compatible. Where's my assembled XO?
Well, and the stick is not part of the distro, right? It's two large boards.
So so what I did with the stick was I made it a little bit larger. Focus is better down here, I guess. I made it a little bit larger, added some prototype area down to the bottom.
Oh, I get it.
And I also gave it the Arduino Shield footprint, so that you can actually mount it on top of an XOrduino. So the idea is you can potentially buy one of these for your class.
Yep.
And each kid can assemble the much cheaper XO Stick themselves and sort of mount it on top and control the robot with their computer, with their XO Stick. So it gives you a sort of intermediate where if you can only afford one, $10 to $20 robot per class, you can still afford $1 per kid for the XO Stick. The XO Stick will now mount on top and be the brains of the robot.
And then the other board, as you said, is the denser Arduino, right? The one on the
right.
Yeah.
Right. So the two boards are the sort of cheaper XO Stick and the denser, more expensive XOrduino. The other change that I made in the V1 is the Arduino board is also surface mount, and I'm open to discussion of whether that was a good idea or not. So this board is still possible to hand solder. I certainly hand soldered them all myself, but it's significantly more friendly for bulk assembly if a country wanted to assemble Arduinos in country, for example, if they wanted to just sort of ship them out one per school. The through-hole components are really expensive to get professionally assembled because through-hole soldering is a much more labor-intensive process. Mm-hmm. So I am, at the moment at least, I'm sort of pitching the XOrduino much more towards, maybe not one per student, but still as cheap as possible. You can get them professionally assembled in your country, or get an adult to assemble it for you, and sort of do one per classroom, with the XO Stick as being the thing that each kid is going to assemble themselves.
So you're saying the stick is still through hole or not?
Yeah, the stick is still through hole. In fact, I made a couple small changes to it to make it even easier to assemble. Added better labeling and whatnot on the parts. So that's the sort of big idea there. I was going to say something else related to that. Oh, the other interesting thing which has happened since I started working on the XO Stick was this Kickstarter project called DigiSpark, which the Kickstarter was funded. They haven't quite shipped yet, as is kind of typical for Kickstarter projects, but it's basically a surface mount version of the XO Stick. As it turns out, they're using the same chip and roughly the same sort of ultra low cost idea. They're making this sort of tiny 1 square inch version of it. But the important thing from our perspective is they're also doing a lot of work on the Arduino tool chain to support the chip, the tiny chip that we're using for this. The details are a little technical. The standard Arduino processor is more expensive because it's got built-in USB, among other things. The chip we're using, the XO Stick, does the USB entirely in software. But if it's compatible with the Arduino toolchain, which they're sort of going further than I was even going to go with that, then they should be sort of indistinguishable from the hacking perspective. Just this guy's a lot cheaper. So that's kind of exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing that stuff upstreamed. That's going to make the XO Stick story a lot stronger because it's just as easy to use as the Arduino. It's got the same toolkit support and whatnot. It's just a lot cheaper.
So I should buy a DigiSpark.
Yeah, I bought a couple just to I guess keep tabs on the competition. I'm hoping that that you won't. Well, yeah.